coming up is a big deal for me. Being from Colorado, we don't get many fighters anymore. But on Saturday night, we have the rematch. Brandon Rios, Mike Alvarado too, uh, and and all boxing fans are ready for what we expect to be another war. Donnie, what do you think? Are we in for a repeat of the first fight, or is there going to be some subtle changes from either side in the rematch?
I have goosebumps thinking about this. Like, is it Saturday yet? Please. Like, oh my God. I think like most fans, I can't wait for this fight. There's a reason why the venue is Vegas this time. I think it's, meant to be the big stage. I'm sure the people are gonna come out and show up. I mean, this is the type of fight that people told people about. They tweeted each other and said, "You got to turn this thing on. You're not gonna see anything like this all year." This is like a throwback to the 1950s. Like you could throw a pair of white trunks on one and black trunks on the other, and it'd be like the old Gillette Friday Night Fight series, like you see. I mean, I could only relate to it on YouTube. My dad could tell you he watched it actually on TV at that time. But that's there's obviously a place for these type of fights in the sport. Um, you know, the last time Alvarado tried to box for the first couple of rounds, but Rios is like a bull in a china shop. He just comes to fight, and he's in your chest all night, and eventually it just becomes a slugfest. And what a slugfest it was! I don't think there was a single clinch in that whole darn fight. These guys really went at it toe to toe. The fans were on their feet the whole time. That was such a great fight to watch, and now they're going to do it again. Um, and to be truthful, I know Rios came out the winner the first time, but I think Alvarado might try to stick more with that boxing. I've seen a few, videos with interviews with his trainers and stuff, and people in his camp, and they, without showing their cards too much, they seem to sort of be indicating that they might be trying to get Mike to box a little bit more and to maybe stick with that game plan a little bit this time. But again, you know what? At the end of the night, I mean, Gotti tried that with Ward too for the first 4 or 5 rounds, but we all know how that ended up. I'm talking about the first fight specifically, but it eventually ends up where these guys just start trading, and you're going to see a tremendous display of heart and guts and courage and stamina, and it's going to be great. And when you go to your Easter dinner table on Sunday, if it's on the replay, I don't know what time it airs, but yeah, you definitely want to say later this afternoon after we eat dinner, you got to check this thing out because it's going to be unbelievable. So set your DVR, even if you're going to watch it live anyways, at least you'll have something to show some of your family members when they come over. If they're not into boxing, they will be after they watch this fight. That much I can assure you of.
Yeah, unless they're totally against violence.
Yeah, this is a fight that only the American Medical Association could hate.
Yeah. Uh, so the thing, looking back at that first fight, admittedly, I am biased towards Alvarado. He's from about 25 minutes from me, and in Colorado, we don't get a chance to have many of these top tier athletes. Unfortunately, when it comes to boxing, the last one was Stevie Johnston. And we all love Stevie, but what I saw is Alvarado did some very, very good things, did some very, very bad things to fight. He was winning the fight from the outside. He was winning the fight inside, shockingly, but it was that mid-range when he was getting caught the worst. And the problem he was not doing good. He was trying to fight out of a shell from distance, and that's when he started getting caught over the top because his jab would come down so low. But using that defense inside, he kept himself away from Rios' right hands because his shoulder was in the way. So, Kurt, do you think that it is possible that Alvarado might be able to make the right technical adjustments to be able to win this fight? Because in truth, his only mistake was at one distance, but that is where the fight was won and lost.
Yeah, I mean, we know what usually happens when the first fight usually ends in, a knockout. The rematch, people expect it maybe to happen again only sooner. I just think this is like the first fight, a 50-50 fight again, and I was impressed with Alvarado in the first fight. I thought he was winning the fight. Rios was slowly, I thought, having more success, and he was starting to make it more the way he wants to fight, and he was starting to get to Alvarado a bit more. But to me, I mean, it's going to be another great fight. We knew this about the first one. We knew what was going to happen. I think more people now are anticipating this one because more people who maybe weren't big boxing fans before but heard about this fight and saw it since, they're going to be, more interested. And hopefully, I can't see how it can't be at least as good as the first fight, but it may be even better. I mean, we know what Rios is going to do. He's what he always does. He's going to come to fight, and he's going to take shots as well. And I just think if Alvarado can stick to the boxing that he showed in the first fight for most of the fight, I think he can take a decision. And he was having a lot of success, and he was landing some good blows on Rios. The only problem is I think Alvarado can't take Rios' power like the other way around. That's the problem. So if he gets caught again, it could be the same outcome. But it's a 50-50 fight in my eyes. But I'd probably lean towards Alvarado springing a bit of a upset in this one.
And I would love for that to happen, man. That'd just be a great day in my household. But
And then we probably get a third fight as well.
oh yeah, and I bet the third fight would wind up on pay-per-view. But let me just throw these two words out there and then make a point behind it. Castillo Corrales. That was definitely for me the best fight of this century so far. But it was a fight in where the winner came out in worse shape than the loser as far as the long-lasting effects on his career, because Corrales never was quite the same after that fight, it seemed. So, Donnie, do you think, one way or the other, actually, the winner or the loser of the previous fight, but do you think, considering the brutality of the war and the fact that these guys have been in, many tough battles prior, do you think that there's a chance that one of them left it all in the ring last time?
Not really, just because they're too young. I think how old is Rios?
Rios is right around 30. I think he might be 28 or so.
Yeah, no, I mean they're still at their prime. I still think even with, I mean, Gotti and Ward when they fought, they were like in their late 30s and mid 30s, and Corrales and Castillo, I know they were both well over 30, I think. But I mean, I don't think though that like one of them is going to be done as a result of this, um, you know, these two fights. I was going to say this trilogy, but it's not a trilogy, at least not yet. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it could be. I mean, we don't know. I think we'll learn a lot about that when we see how they both look in the rematch on Saturday, really. But if I think anybody left it all in the ring, I mean, obviously the guy that got knocked out. I mean, that Corrales Castillo example that you cited is an atypical one, right? But in general, I mean, he's never lost before, and he never certainly, I don't think, ever really been hurt in a professional fight, as far as I could see. Hurt to the point where he was in danger of getting knocked out, which he was. It was a TKO. They stopped it when he was on the ropes. A little bit of an early stoppage, in my opinion, but I guess better than nobody got hurt. But yeah, I mean, if I had to, bet on anybody being damaged after, right? I mean, I'd have to go with Alvarado just because of the fact that I certainly think that if they would let it go on for a couple more seconds, he could have been very badly damaged. But who knows? A lot of questions will be answered on Saturday.
I think Smolga should be reffing the rematch. Even though Tony Weeks is a good ref, I think this type of fight needs a Smolga.
Well, it really is, especially when you look at the difference in the way that Russell handled the Bradley Provodnikov fight. Bradley was far worse off at any given point in that fight than Alvarado was against Rios.
Absolutely.
I just think the point on about the fighters, the winner maybe being worse off. The thing with Rios is I think he's only about 27, but he had a lot of amateur fights as well. And he's had around 30 odd professional fights. Not only does he's got the style where he throws a lot of shots and he takes a lot of shots, but he's also had a lot of trouble making weight. I mean, against John Murray and against the Brill, I mean, he looked like a corpse on the scales. So I think he's got the style that's definitely going to have a short career. In the terms that he's took a lot of punishment and the weight troubles. I know now he seems to be making weight fine, but those two
Yeah, that was
fights.
135, Kurt. You were talking about there. This is 140, but
Yeah, I know, but where he's in the past, he's had a lot of weight trouble. I don't think that's going to have a good effect on his long-term career either. And I think if, in my opinion, probably Alvarado probably would be in the better shape, but you don't know how much that's going to add into this fight. But in terms of long-term career, I don't think Rios will have like a long career like certain other fighters where they're fighting on and on and on and getting injured and hammered and whatnot.
I just have a feeling, as sad as it is to say, that the loser of this fight is not really going to be the same anymore. Um, and we see, you do see this sometimes in rematches and trilogies. Another example of someone that was never the same after war, even though they won. Israel Vasquez after the third fight against Marquez. He's the one that left the most. Marquez still had some reasonable successes. I mean, at least he was able to win their fourth fight. But all I'm saying is I don't. There's so many questions with this fight that can't be answered until they're in the ring. It's a matter of how they mentally they came through with that. If they're stronger for knowing they went through something like that and came out okay, or as if Alvarado's afraid of getting hurt now. For me, there's just a ton of questions that we're going to have answered on Saturday night, and I really hope it turns out into Alvarado boxing a surprising UD decision over Rios, but we'll see. Rios by stoppage wouldn't surprise me. Rios by decision would shock me.
And don't forget as well, Rios has maybe got a little bit of pressure on with Aram, saying that he's going to have this little tournament of his own with Juan Manuel, Pacquiao, Timothy Bradley, and hopefully Brandon Rios. Now he never mentioned Mike Alvarado. He mentioned.
actually he did. I checked correct. I
Oh,
said
did he
earlier.
mention?
Yeah, he said the winner of this fight. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, because I thought there was like they were looking to make Pacquiao against Rios after this fight. So long as obviously Rios won. I was just wondering maybe if because to me I saw Aaron mention Mike Alvarado facing Ruslan Provodnikov. So to me I can see I think what he hopes would who would win the fight. So it's just interesting to see.
Honestly, any combination of those six fighters is pretty fun. Um,
Yep.
Provodnikov, I can't see beating someone like a Marquez or Pacquiao, but I could see him being a really fun fight for Rios or Alvarado. So yeah, we'll we'll see. This is actually as far as top rank and what they have going at 140 and 147 too. Even though Golden Boy is superior at this point, top rank nothing to scoff at. So
And by the way, I should just add, yeah, I mean, while he did technically say that, the winner of this fight would be in the tournament, let me tell you something. There's no doubt in my mind that Bob Harrer wants Brandon Rios to win this fight.
Yeah.
I mean, because he's been working on pumping him promotionally for like a long time, and he was in line for that Paglia shot and would have got it if Marquez didn't upset the apple cart. I mean, Marquez was supposed to lose to Paglia, take his payday, and ride off into the sunset, and now he's sticking around. So. I mean that wasn't in Aram's plan, but like, yeah, I think he really wants to make Pacquiao Rios because maybe he thinks Rios with his work rate and his ability to take punishment, obviously, as well as his ability to dish out, not only would provide a great fight with an offensive fighter like Pacquiao, but maybe that, he might even catch him at the right time and boom, there's, Aram's next pay-per-view superstar. So, I mean, yeah, that Brandon Rios is definitely like, their guy. Matty probably not doesn't want to hear that, but I mean, I'm just saying that that they definitely have a lot more resources invested in him, and I like underdogs, so I'll be rooting for Mike to do well. So.